I think I've always been in love with love. I've always had to be in love.
We have a little apartment here that's probably about as popular as yours. You remember, of course, Miss Torso, the ballet dancer? She's like a queen bee with her pick of the drones.
I'd say she's doing a woman's hardest job, juggling wolves.
I was in Las Vegas, and I received a telephone call that Paramount would like to see me about a movie. After the audition, the fellow that I was dating asked me about the interview, and I said, oh, yes, I did get the job. And he said, well, who is the director? And I said, I can't remember his name. I said he was sort of short and fat and bald, and he had a Cockney accent. He said, you don't mean Alfred Hitchcock, do you? I said, oh, yes, that's his name. But I had no idea who Alfred Hitchcock was. I was a ballet dancer. My mother wanted me to be a stripper, and I think she really wanted to be in show business. So when I decided to become a ballet dancer, she encouraged me. And then, of course, I became so good in such a very short time that Balanchine came to see me dance, and he signed me to be with the company. Now, we used to have company class, and occasionally George would teach class, and he was really paying quite a bit of attention to me. And I was getting a little concerned. He had quite a reputation, you know. He liked marrying his ballerinas, and I just didn't want to be his next wife. I was with the company for 2 years, and after the performance, a man and woman came up to me, Paula Stone and Michael Sloan, their husband and wife, and they're producers for Broadway shows. And they asked would I be interested in if they'd like to manage me for Broadway shows. So I was doing a Broadway show, and I was a toastette with the Ed Sullivan Show, which was on a Sunday. Ben Ballou, he was a guest on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I did a sketch with him. And he hired me. He was doing a show in Las Vegas. He asked me to get a dance number. Mitch Lyson designed the costume. It was a black lace that's stretchy kind like for underwear, and it looked like you could see through it. Alfred Hitchcock saw some pictures of me posed in the costume, and that's how it came about that they wanted to see me for the movie. So I came to California. They had me on a set. I'd never been on a set before, and it was all quite new to me. Hitchcock wanted me to dance, and I asked for a choreographer. And he told the assistant director, no, he wanted me to do it myself. They took me to one of the bungalows at Paramount Studios, and I spent the day making up little steps for myself. And as you recall in the movie, I was eating chicken and dancing at the same time. One day, Hitchcock came to me, and he said, you know, Georgina, if you would study with Chekhov, go to Europe for a couple of years, he said, I would make a big star out of you. And of course, I didn't believe it. I just didn't take him seriously. I thought he was just teasing with me. The day we finished shooting was January 14th, was the day of my birthday, my 18th birthday. And I had taken all of my makeup off, had my hair in curlers, big fat curlers, and had one foot out the door ready to go home. And knock out the dressing room door, and it was Herbie Coleman, the assistant director, and he said, Hitchcock would like you to come on the set. So I threw some clothes on, and I went over there. And to my surprise, Hitchcock had a cake baked with Miss Torso, the breast, and said Miss Torso on it. Big, huge cake. And everyone was there, and they could have gone home. Grace Kelly, Jimmy Stewart, Raymond Burr, Thelma Ritta, everyone was there to sing happy birthday to me. I'll tell you a funny story about it, going to the premiere. There were people lined up, Paramount Pictures, and somebody said, who are you? What's your name? Who are you? I said, Georgine Darcy. And they said, who the hell is that? When we sat down and the movie started, I had never seen myself large. like that. I was terrified. I slid down into my seat because I could see that people in the theater were looking up and then looking over at me. And when the movie finished, we went out the side door. I would not go out the front. They had the press and they had the radio people and television. Everybody was out front. I just didn't think I deserved the attention, and I was embarrassed, and I was shocked to see how I looked, and I guess I really didn't probably like the way I looked. I didn't get it. I just, out the side.
Now, Miss Torso, for example.
You keep your mind off her.
Well, she sure is the eat, drink, and be merry girl.
Yeah, she'll wind up fat, alcoholic, and miserable.
After Rear Window, my career was really doing very well. Everybody wanted to hire me for something, to do something, to go to Japan, to be Miss Torso, whatever it was. And I wanted to get married. And that June, I did get married. And my husband didn't want me to work. So for the 5 years that we were married, I was retired. When I was in New York with him, I became pregnant. He was very upset. He didn't want to have a child. And he sent me back to California to have an abortion while he stayed with his girlfriend. I was totally alone all through this. I just couldn't forgive him. So when Jerry Lewis was looking to replace Dean Martin and needed a straight woman, they called me about it, and Jack said, yes, do it.
Thank you very much. A pleasant good evening to you. You look like a great audience.
By then, things were kind of really unraveling. And as soon as I was divorced from Jack, I started working again. Lucille Ball was looking for new young faces. She wanted to create the old studio system again. And I was called to audition. I had to sing and I had to dance. And I remembered when I went to sing, I forgot all the lyrics. And she had a little square down, a wooden square for the dancers. And when I went to step onto it, I tripped. And she said to me, that's the worst audition I've ever seen. You're hired. And she came up to me one day when we were rehearsing, and she said, I'm going to make an actress out of you. I was put into the series Harrigan and Son with Pat O'Brien. I co-starred. I played the role of Gypsy, a secretary that could not type or take shorthand.
Gypsy! Gypsy! Gypsy!
Mr. Harrigan, I've only got 2 hands. Miss Claridge is out sick. I'm holding down 2 jobs. I'm at the breaking point. And besides, I belong to a very strong union.
That's good. Because you'll need the pension money if you don't come the next time I call you.
By this time, I had been established as an actress. And very few people knew that I danced. And Sam Katzman was making a movie called Don't Knock the Twist. And I went to see him, and I got the job. Now, Sam Katzman says to me, do you have somebody that you dance with? So I called a friend of mine, Steve Preston. He played my brother in the movie. And we did about 18 dance numbers. We kind of choreographed it, a lot of it ourselves. And I think it was shot in about 10 days. The day that we were shooting the Salome number, the Salome Twist, the Showbiz magazine were doing a story on Sam Katzman. So he was very nervous, and he had this little rocking chair, and he was rocking back and forth, and we were shooting the number. And the number went something like, 1 veil, 2 veil, da 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 da. And I was pulling these veils up. They were snapped to this Rita Hayworth costume. And I couldn't find the veils. And it was getting really frustrating. Cut, da, da. We'd start again and again. And finally, I went to grab the veil, and I pulled at it, and the whole dress fell apart. Just simply fell to the ground. And here I am with my dress around my ankles. After the movie Don't Knock the Twist, I was hired as a singer for the Millionaires Club, which was a new club. It was built by this very wealthy man, the intention being that it would be a private club. And so all the material that I had was specially written for me and for the show. And I remembered one song was about this man who buys the girl all of these diamonds and wonderful clothes and chauffeured limousines. And the very end of the number, I had my customer and I'd say, "And Daddy, for me." And they'd black out. And I remember one day the owner came to me and he said, "Georgine," he said, "could you kind of not go too long?" One day they received a call that Howard Hughes wanted to see me for a movie. I think it was called The Gold Rush. And a limousine would be picking me up. They took me to a studio on Sunset Boulevard. And it was a very strange and odd situation. Howard Hughes wasn't there, and there were some women, and they were kind of drinking and milling around and kind of waiting for Howard to show up. And finally he did show up. And I remembered he was very tall. He had sneakers on without socks. And he was kind of hard of hearing. And they put some music on. And he asked me to dance with him. And I thought, oh, geez, what the hell is going on here? Dancing with this man? What kind of an audition is this, you know? And I said, my fiancé is a very good dancer. My fiancé this, my fiancé that. So finally he got really worn out. And he said, I'd like to take you home. And he took me to the door, and he looked me square in the eye, and he said, "Stay away from these men." He said, "They're really bad. They're evil." He kissed me on each cheek, and I never heard from him again. When I met Byron, my husband, I thought he was the handsomest man I had ever seen in my life. And I did see quite a few handsome men, but he was very special to me. I just loved, he had a twinkle in his eye, and he was gorgeous. So we got married. Again, there goes the career. And we've been married 26 years. I studied painting, I sculpted, I sewed. We got a little house in the mountains and decorated that. I was getting bored after about 10 years. I really wanted to go back to work, and I went back to this photographer, very famous photographer, and he took a new set of pictures. And Byron was really unhappy. Every time I went on an interview, he'd say, "I think you're going to get it." You know, well, that alone makes you so nervous. By the time you get to the interview, you've blown it. So I stopped. I started reestablishing old friendships, which was very important to me because it brought back much of my life to me. Hitchcock, I think, really did like me. I used to keep in touch with him. I went to see him when he did Birds. I went to see him when he did To Catch a Thief. I used to telephone him, and he always took my phone calls. And I remembered once I had just finished a short story called Lamb to the Slaughter. And I thought, this is when he was doing his television series. And I thought, this would be perfect for him. So I called him and I told him about it. And he said, "Georgina, I just bought it." And he said to me, "Wouldn't you like to do one of these little shows for me?" And I said, "Oh no, Mr. Hitchcock, I wouldn't want to embarrass you." The problem with being Miss Torso is that a lot of people think that Miss Torso is the only role I've ever had or the only job I've ever had. And in fact, I've had a very nice career when I wasn't married. It was always, painful. And as sad as it would be, it was still more important than my career. I always had to be in love. Strange, isn't it?